Okay, picture this. You're way up high, maybe above the clouds, breathing in that pine scent. You hear a temple bell somewhere off, and then bam, total chaos because a monkey's just legged it with your lunch.
Huh. Yeah, that sounds about right for Uttarakhand. It's exactly that mix, isn't it? The
Yep.
truly sublime and the slightly absurd all rolled into one.
Absolutely. The sources we looked at really paint it as this spiritually alive place, but also geographically kind of wild and, very human.
Right. And it's probably fair to say for a lot of people listening, maybe it's not the first place that springs to mind. You think Goa, maybe Bali.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But digging into the material for this deep dive, wow, it revealed so much more depth, so many surprises, things you just wouldn't expect.
Totally. We're not just talking pretty mountains here. The info we found goes into these hidden corners, like animals you wouldn't think of, these empty villages with really poignant stories.
Journeys that properly test you.
Yeah, and spiritual stuff that might, actually shift how you see things.
So that's the plan for this deep dive. We're going to pull out the really key stuff, the most interesting bits from everything we read, and try to give you a proper feel for what makes Uttarakhand, well, Uttarakhand, straight from the sources.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Has to be the name, right? Devbhoomi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Land of the gods. And the reason, according to the reading, it's not just a name, it feels like.
Yeah.
Like the divine is actually there in the rivers, the valleys, just woven into everything.
You definitely see that with the big pilgrimage sites. The Chardam, Kedarnath, Badrinath, Gangotri, Yamunotri, ancient temples.
And incredibly high up. The sources really stress that. The altitude is just nuts.
It's part of the challenge. Getting there isn't a walk in the park. That trek to Kedarnath, for instance.
Oh yeah, one source literally said it could break your knees.
Exactly. But then, in the same breath, the material talks about how that exact same knee-breaking journey could somehow heal your soul.
It's that contrast again, isn't it? The sheer physical effort side by side with this, immense spiritual potential. It really seems to capture the essence of the place. And then you've got Rishikesh. Famous everywhere, right? World capital of yoga.
Huh. And the reading mentioned meditating by the river, trying to find your zen, while monkeys are basically sitting there judging your posture.
That detail is just perfect. It keeps it grounded, The spiritual and the slightly chaotic reality side by side.
Okay, so we've got the gods, the yoga, the serene side, but the sources make it really clear it's not all peace and quiet. There's a different kind of drama, too.
Uh-huh. Which brings us to the Bushi Gaon.
The ghost villages. Sounds spooky, but it's not actually ghosts, is it?
No, not supernatural. The material explains it's about people leaving, younger generations heading to cities for work, for opportunities, leaving these whole villages empty.
Silent. Homes, schools, everything, just the stories left behind. And that kind of unsettling beauty you get with lonely places.
And there was that one specific detail that really stood out from the reading, about a village where someone still lights a daya, a little oil lamp. Yeah.
Every single night in an abandoned temple. Just, just in case the gods come back.
Wow, that says a lot. Hope, tradition, even when everyone's gone.
It's powerful. Okay, so from that quiet emptiness, let's completely switch gears. Wildlife.
Right. Jim Corbett National Park. People think tigers, and yeah, it's India's oldest tiger reserve.
But the stuff we read really shone a light on the other animals, the ones that maybe don't get the headlines. We're talking leopards that can actually climb trees.
And elephants with attitude. That's how it was described.
Yeah. And beyond them, you've got these other cool creatures like the red panda, quite rare, or the Himalayan monal, that stunning pheasant.
And we have to mention the bear story.
Oh, the flip-flop thief, yes. Apparently a bear genuinely stole a tourist's flip-flop. The source swore it was true.
It's hilarious and slightly worrying if you're planning a hike. It just shows it's not your standard African safari vibe, is it? There's this whole other layer of wildness.
Definitely defies expectations. Speaking of unexpected, skiing in Uttarakhand. I know. Ollie. The sources call it India's best-kept ski secret. High altitude, good snow, cable cars. They even compared it to Switzerland.
But crucially, without the Swiss price tag, as one piece put it.
Which is always good. And they got pretty real about the experience, too. Like, expect to fall.
Yeah.
A lot, especially at first.
Oh, definitely. And there was that vital piece of local wisdom of, maybe don't try skiing right after you've eaten a massive plate of Rajma Chawal.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the heavy kidney bean curry. Probably solid advice. Someone learned that the hard way, I bet.
You think? Okay, so from skiing, let's talk about other natural wonders, the Valley of Flowers.
Oh, that sounded incredible. A UNESCO site. The description was something like the Himalayas just exploding in color during the monsoon.
And they made a point of saying this isn't CGI, this is real, just raw, vibrant nature.
And nearby, even higher up, like 15,000 feet, there's Hemkund Sahib, a Sikh pilgrimage site, but it's beside a glacial lake.
Yeah, and the journey itself. Walking for days, sometimes in snow, often in silence, just to reach this frozen lake and pay respects.
The sources kind of explored the motivation, didn't they? This idea that sometimes giving yourself over to something that huge, that challenging, it can actually feel freeing.
It can. But then you get that brilliant human touch. Again, remember the story about the friend who finally got there.
Yeah.
And burst into tears. Not from overwhelming devotion.
But because he'd forgotten to pack socks. His feet were freezing.
Exactly. It just keeps it real, doesn't it? Even in these epic moments, you're still human, you still need socks.
Totally. Okay, let's swing back a bit to that spiritual current we mentioned. Rishikesh again. The physical address of peace.
Drawing people from everywhere. Yoga teachers from like 80 different countries, the material science.
And you have these ancient practices, like taking a dip in the Ganges, the Ganga dips. Belief is it can wash away karma.
Right, and those little details that are just so Uttarakhand, like the bridge named after Lord Ram, where cows literally have the right of way. You just have to wait.
And downriver in Haridwar, that tradition of bottling Ganges water in a copper pot, a kalash, taking blessings home.
The overall feeling these places give off, according to the sources, it's complicated. It's described as calm, but also chaotic, somehow healing.
Yeah, there was that analogy like talking to your grandma during a thunderstorm. There's noise and maybe a bit of fear, but also this underlying sense of comfort and safety.
That really works, because it's not just peaceful. The sources hammer home how unpredictable Uttarakhand can be, wildly so.
Absolutely. The challenges are serious. Monsoons turning rivers into monsters overnight. Roads just vanishing. Getting stuck is a real possibility.
And stuck could mean like 6 hours in a roadside cafe, a dhaba with total strangers.
Playing endless rounds of Antakshari, that singing game.
It sounds almost like fiction, doesn't it? But the material frames this unpredictability not just as scary, but as exciting, character building even. You have to adapt.
And that wild changing aspect connects to something else that came through strongly in the reading, a sense of urgency. Why maybe going now is important.
Things are changing fast there. Glaciers melting is a big one mentioned. Traditional homes disappearing.
And those ghost villages we talked about. The reading suggested some might not even be there in another decade. Gone completely.
So travel there isn't just presented as sightseeing. It's almost framed as witnessing, as a kind of preservation through storytelling. Every visitor brings back a story, and stories last.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What story would you take away if you went? Something about a crazy trek.
Oh, yeah.
Or just having chai with an old wise person in the hills. Or a quiet moment.
Yeah, because when you strip it all back, the mountains, the rivers, the wildlife, the chaos, what really seems to anchor the place, according to all the sources, is the people.
They're consistently the heart of it, making it unforgettable. The reading gave examples like a Pahadi grandmother, a mountain woman, just determined to feed you geese-soaked roti.
Or the kid who turns out to be this amazing, instinctive trekking guide.
Or that old man just quietly saying the forest is alive, and it listens.
It really comes across that you might go for the stunning views initially.
But you stay for the people. Or at least their warmth and spirit stays with you.
Yeah. So, wrapping up this deep dive, Uttarakhand doesn't really feel like just a destination, does it? It's more like a mirror, maybe? The sources suggest it reflects back your own stuff, your fears, your sense of awe, how resilient you are.
It definitely sounds like a place that kind of encourages you, or maybe forces you, to just slow down. Feel things a bit more. Let go of your plans sometimes.
Definitely. So if you've stuck with us through all this, exploring the material, you're already thinking like an explorer. And that journey, that discovery, it doesn't really stop here.
The mountains are calling, as they say. And based on what we found, this time, they really want your full attention.